everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my office slash workroom slash library. So as you may know, I recently moved house. I moved in with my partner Chris, and in this house I have my own workroom, I have my own office, I have my own private working space where I can film, where I can write, where I can research, where I can store all my books, where I can do anything I want, and I'm so excited about it. I've never had an office or a workroom before, and it feels like a big step towards being a professional. I guess I am a professional, but it feels like a big step in my career to have my own workspace. It's something I've wanted for the longest time. It's something that I've like dreamt of, so I'm so excited to not only get to work in this space, to see what comes out of this space, like what ideas, what videos I get to film in here, but also how I get to decorate it and how I get to store all my books, because all of these boxes behind me are books. So there's currently 30 boxes full of books in this room, although full is probably an exaggeration for weight and ease of carrying these boxes. A lot of them have maybe like a blanket or some cushions or some clothes in them to pad them out and make sure they're not actually full of books, because you know I can't lift a whole box full of books. However, whether they're half full or full, that's still a lot of books. And if I'm being perfectly honest with you, there were 5 other boxes of books. They just have already been unpacked, not because they've been organised by any stretch of the imagination, but because we were just surrounded by boxes and we were trying to clear some space, and it was before the carpet got fitted in my office, etc, etc, etc. So I had unpacked a few boxes of books just to chuck them on the bookcase in the living room to get them out of the way, to make them take up less space, because books do take up less space once they're on a bookcase versus when they're in boxes. So yeah, between Chris and I we have 35 boxes of books, although I'm going to hazard a guess that around 30 of those are mine, because I'm definitely the one with more books. But yeah, Chris's books are also mixed in here too. And you might remember that about 4 years ago, when I moved back from London to Edinburgh, I did an unboxing video where I unboxed all of my books that had been boxed up from London and moved to Edinburgh. Went through them, got rid of some, organised them a little bit, and just reacquainted myself with the books I have. And that's kind of what I'm going to be doing in this video. I definitely have more books than I had 4 years ago if you go back and watch that video. That's fancy. Let's unbox.
They don't fit on the bookshelves, do you think?
No, Jill, I do not think that they will.
I was going to say, I don't think so either. What are you going to do then?
I might have to buy another bookcase. Oh, I found the mass market paperback pile.
God, that needs us on bookshelves.
Which is no bad thing. I grew up in a house full of books and I love being surrounded by books. So I want to unbox these boxes, but more than just like have a little gander and have a look-see through the boxes, I need to start the organisation process. So not all of these books will end up in my office, my library, because of space. It's not like the biggest room in the world, and I also do like having books in the living room, etc. And we might put some bookcases up in other rooms as well, but I really want to have But what I really want from this new house is to have a really good organisation system for the books. So I want them organised into categories and genres and subgenres, and I want to make sure, for example, that I've got things like my folklore, mythology, ancient history books in my office, because those are the books that I use for work and for research the most. So those will obviously be getting categorised and prioritised for this room, but I'm hoping there'll also be space for some fiction and other books as well. And then we'll have to see exactly how it gets organised, but maybe like fantasy will end up in the living room, or science fiction. I don't know yet, but the best way to do that is to start organising the categories and see how much is in each one, and then we can get a feel for it, and Chris can also have his input on where things should go. And we are, perhaps controversially to some, merging our books. Our books are about to merge together, so there's a chance there might be a couple of duplicate books that I can get rid of one or the other copy of. But then once the books are organised into categories and genres, comes the actual like organising them aesthetically to some extent on the bookshelves throughout the house. So that's probably going to be a separate video, because I haven't even built my bookshelves yet. My billies got delivered this morning. Like, that's still a few days away before I even get to that. But in this video I'm going to unbox all of these books as much as possible, and I'm going to try and organise them into categories, and show you what those categories are and the books in them, at least some of the books in them. And at the minute what I'm thinking is that children's books will be separate. I won't separate the children's books into genres, but children's books will be separate, and then within that I'm probably going to do alphabetical order by author name by surname, which is obviously quite a standard way to organise books, although I might separate out like some special editions, some matching editions, that kind of thing. I then want a sort of classics section, as in like, you know, your kind of like modern classics, your post-medieval classic literature, and then general fiction. I think I'll have romance, horror, science fiction, fantasy, non-fiction, but within non-fiction I'll probably keep my history and particularly my ancient history books separate, because those are obviously more work related. I will have a mythology and folklore section. I will have my classical literature, as in like my ancient literature, separate, because in my mind that needs to be separate. I need to know where my classical literature is. And then probably short stories and poetry collections and plays together, but we'll see. That's what I'm thinking at the minute, and I cannot really get any further in the thought process until I start unboxing. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, I guess it's time to start. I don't even know which box to start with. Some of them are labelled, but then I did unbox some books whilst I was at my mum's temporarily because I needed them, and then they got reboxed and I'm not sure they're still in the correctly labelled boxes, so we'll see. This one says books and ornaments and dresses, so let's find out. We definitely have dresses in this one, the padding, so I'm just gonna put these in the bedroom. Okay, so yeah, this very much just looks like random books that I've chucked in at the end of packing that didn't get properly categorised, including some of my Sherlock Holmes books. So if you've been following for a long time, you'll know that the only book I collect multiple copies of is Sherlock Holmes, because I've been like a die-hard fan since I was like 12. This is one that I got at a little antiques fair. It's just got 3 little mysteries in it. And this is a copy of A Study in Scarlet, which I believe has illustrations in it, yeah. So that's the first ever Sherlock Holmes story. In fact, on that note, obviously I'm going to keep a Sherlock Holmes section, so let's keep all those together. My original copies of Sherlock Holmes, these are the ones I originally read that were my dad's, so very, very special place in my heart. My little Macmillan Collector's Library Sherlock Holmes editions. My friend Jill brought me this edition all the way back from New Zealand, which was so kind of her. She found it in a second-hand shop. John Wyndham's. Where do I even start putting things? Children's space. Okay, so if I remember correctly, these may be my Terry Pratchett books, aka my dad's old Terry Pratchett collection. And I was indeed correct. It is a couple of board games. Oh, just a little side note, if you've never played Ganz Clever, this is actually Doppelt so Clever, which is the sequel. Best dice game in the whole world. Check it out. Given that this is exclusively Terry Pratchett at the moment, I'm just going to leave it all in the box because, I mean, there's no better way to organise it, so I'll just put this where the fantasy is going to go. Just for context, when I'm not talking to you, I am currently watching Carrie Dayton clear out her closet, and it is keeping me great company and keeping me going. So filming this might be slowing me down, but I don't care because I have to show you these books. These are my childhood DK eyewitness books. I have 4 of them. There were also quite a few that I used to take out of the library to read as well. And we have mythology, pyramids, oh I hit myself in the face, fossils and ancient Greeks. You can tell what I was into from a very young age, and this is also why writing for DK has been one of the biggest honours of my life, because these books were a massive part of me discovering my love of history and antiquity and archaeology and mythology and yeah, so really, really special books to me. So I don't talk about this book nearly as much as I talk about my other books, because this is like an academic volume that's really expensive, published by Bloomsbury, with a collection of articles written by different scholars in it, which I both edited and contributed an article to. So this is Revisiting Rape in Antiquity, Sexualized Violence in the Greek and Roman Worlds. And even though I don't talk about it as much, it's one of the proudest accomplishments of my life, to have my research published in this book alongside scholars who have literally influenced my academic journey, like Edward Harris. So yeah, I'm so proud of this book. Okay, so I also have some like big questions for book owners who have opinions on book organisation. So like I mentioned, I'm definitely doing genres, so fantasy, romance. Two separate genres on my bookcases, but then what do we do with romantasy? So this is a book that is very much a romance and very much a fantasy novel. It is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast by Grace Draven called Entreat Me. Love this book, one of my favourite romantasies, one of my favourite retellings of Beauty and the Beast. Like, I don't know, obviously you could do like a section in between fantasy and romance that's romantasy, assuming those go near each other on the bookcases. So yeah, I separate it out into a romantasy genre. But then there's some books which I would definitely say are fantasy but have an undercurrent of romance. So like, how do you separate that out? So in the minute I'm thinking I'm going to put romantasy in fantasy, and just keep romance to historical and contemporary romance, so set in the real world. But I would love to know if you have any thoughts on that and what you do with your books. So I've actually just found the first box of Chris's books officially, so you know, sneak peek into what Chris likes to read. Gardening books. We've got some Inklings. We've also got some of the Oxford Very Short Introductions, graphic novels. So I know this is one of Chris's favourites. I know he highly recommends this, so if you'd like a recommendation from Chris, he loves this book. Oh hey, and some romance. I made myself a little iced coffee pick-me-up because it's not just today, you know, we've spent the past week like unboxing things, painting things, moving furniture, which is all an absolute joy to be able to do, but my body is like, oh. So some coffee was in order. I've made a few dents, I've emptied a few boxes, I've started my piles. Definitely not every genre though, so we've got a few genres to discover in these boxes as well. And I have to say I'm really pleased that my bookshelves got delivered this morning, because it means we can either build them tonight or tomorrow and start getting these books on them, because these piles of books are going to overwhelm me if not. So yeah, obviously we're going to be distributing the books across the house, not just in this room, so I think I'll film a separate video, did I already say this? Where I put all the books on the bookcases and organise all of that, so you know, there's some time to send some feedback before then, but yeah. Let's drink some coffee and keep going. What do we do about classic science fiction? Because I've just realised that I started my science fiction pile with John Wyndham, but should he be in the classic section? Because I was sort of thinking of that section as like pre-1980s literature. I don't know why. Maybe I have to change my mind. I think the classics should just be pre-20th century literature, and then after that it gets subdivided by genre. But then that means all my Penguin modern classics will be split amongst like horror and contemporary fiction and science fiction, and I don't know. I need your help. The reason I'm holding this up is because it is a Penguin modern classic that I think would come under science fiction. The questions and the distress continues, because retellings, do they go in fantasy, They're not always fantasy though. Like Girl Meets Boy by Ali Smith is not a fantasy retelling of a myth, but it's a retelling of a myth. And then if I do a section which is just retellings of myth, do I also include retellings of fairy tales and other legends, or is it just retellings of classical myth? And then what if it's a book like The Vegetarian by Han Kang, which has inspiration drawn from Ovid's Metamorphoses' version of the Daphne and Apollo tale, but it's very much just a contemporary book. It's not necessarily a retelling. This is harder than I thought it was going to be. Ladies and gentlemen, Exhibit A, a freshly painted white wall which has now been marred by boxes of books, and I'm going to have to paint over it. It is time for a lunch break, and I feel like I might have mentioned this in videos before, but I'm just going to mention it again because if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you need to be trying this. It's the Squeaky Bean fake salmon. Like, genuinely amazing. This is the energy I need to keep me going because I'm exhausted. I am actually sweating. At least I'm definitely, you know, like 2/3 of the way through, maybe even 3/4 to be perfectly honest. Minus all the books that are downstairs currently stuffed on bookcases, but getting there, and I've made a little pile of books I'm getting rid of, so you know, well done me. Yeah, I'm boiling and this is taking way longer than I thought it would. I thought it'd be like a half a day thing. It's kind of turning into a whole day thing, which maybe I should have seen come in, but at least maybe now putting all the books on the bookcases will be a little bit quicker. And I'm hoping we can build at least one of the bookcases tonight because I have no chill. But my friend Jill is coming round to see our house, so we'll see if she's up for that or not, because if she's not, then we kind of have to focus on being hosts, and that's fair enough. So yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Like, I just thought I should update you, but I don't even know what I'm updating you about, really. Cool. I hope this video is turning out okay. I am slightly concerned it's going to take about 6 hours to upload, because thus far I'm realising my upload speeds in this new place are not great. But hey ho, if it takes 6 hours, as long as we get there eventually, right? Cool. I might go make myself another coffee actually. Yeah, might do that. Okay, let's do a little progress update. So here, as expected, is the fantasy pile, which so far is definitely the largest. This box, you may be able to tell, is romance. So I'm just keeping romance in that book. It's starting to spill over, so we'll see if there's any more. We've got some... I've got some classics up here, but I've just been chucking a few things up there as well randomly. And then I started doing like history and mythology books down here, and then I realised that this was just daft. Like, there was no way I was going to fit them all somewhere, so I've actually decided I'm keeping like my ancient history books and my mythology books, etc., in boxes right now. So like there's a book on classical archaeology and art, so those will probably go back in a box just now as well, and then I can keep those in boxes. We have crime and thrillers, oh, you're going out of focus, crime and thrillers and science fiction, which are both smaller than I was expecting, particularly sci-fi, because I know Chris likes sci-fi, so I'm surprised we've not got a bigger pile of that yet. But as you can see, there's still some boxes I haven't opened underneath. The box over there is poetry, short story collections. That's my little pile of children's books so far, and that round there is non-fiction, like political stuff, that kind of thing. So yeah, absolute chaos. This beanbag isn't staying in this room, so it is a bit awkward to work around, but the whole house is a bit awkward to work around right now, so I'm just leaving it in here because then I can occasionally flop down on it, so that's how we're doing. Alright, I think I am done for today. I actually feel like I've done a really good job for the most part. I think I need to build the bookcases now and start to get an idea of what will fit on them. I was going to order 4 bookcases, but I just ordered 3 for the time being because I just wanted to like gauge space, and we've got another bookshelf that we haven't built for the living room, so there's like a bit of like figuring out space wise to go. I mean, we've only been here for a week and we've basically spent most of it cleaning and painting, so yeah, there's like a bit of figuring out where everything's going to go and everything's going to fit, and to build some bookcases. So I feel like I've got everything categorized roughly. I'll do some close-ups with my phone, but I've got like a massive fantasy pile. I've got a decent little romance pile. It's really interesting kind of seeing what you have most of, because even though I've been reading less fantasy, I'd say, in the last year, it's still what I've read the most of probably over my life, so I have the most of it. Got a little pile of children's books. I actually think most of my children's books are there on the bookshelf I mentioned I put books on downstairs. That, or there's a secret box of books somewhere mixed in with the kitchen stuff that I've not identified, which could be possible. We have a little sci-fi pile, we have a crime thriller pile, which actually isn't as big, and I was thinking about this because I've read a lot of thrillers, and then I realised of all the genres I read, thrillers are the ones I'm least likely to keep. And I don't exactly know why that is. I think it's probably because I don't imagine myself rereading them when you know all the twists and turns again. It's not like a scientific method, this piling system, when there's still books downstairs, etc. But yeah, it's interesting, that one. I also pass them on to friends and don't expect to get them back. So yeah, I have non-fiction, I have my boxes which are still full of like history non-fiction, myth books, books on myth, ancient texts, mythological texts, folklore collections, etc, etc. And then I have a random misc box here of like what I guess I would say is a mixture of like contemporary and literary fiction. Then a box full of horror, and a box full of Chris's computer techie books, which I'm pretty sure are going in his office, so they're all in that box. And actually a box of graphic novels and comic books as well. So it is all like separated into sections now, so it'll be much easier, I think, to like distribute it all and start the whole alphabetical aesthetic system, because I haven't quite figured out what that's going to be yet. And then I mentioned there are books downstairs. But yeah, I feel like I've achieved a lot. I'm definitely tired. I even moved my beanbag chair out of this room and did some other bits of like reorganising and moving. I came across quite a few like board games, DVDs, bits and other pieces inside the boxes that were scattered among the books, which I also put away. I only got rid of 18 books, but it was never really about getting rid of books. It was just about organising them. But of course there were a few I came across that I decided I didn't need anymore. I actually did quite a big declutter of books before I packed them all, so I'm pretty invested in everything I have here. Oh, and then there's also the sort of like classics, so like pre-20th century classics, yet post-antiquity medieval times. We'll see how it all ends up getting organised, and you'll probably see that in a future video that'll hopefully be of interest to you. But yeah, thanks for joining me on this unboxing adventure. I don't think I've ever unboxed this many books. Even the last time I did one of these moving book unboxing videos, there wasn't as many as this time. So yeah, I am knackered. I'm excited for Jill to come round. We're gonna have pizza and we're gonna watch the next Disney animated film on our list, because Chris, Jill and I have been watching all the Disney animated films from Snow White up until the modern era, although we're nowhere near the modern era, we're only on Sleeping Beauty, so that's what we're watching tonight with our pizza. But I don't feel particularly coherent anymore because I am so tired, and I could probably just do with sitting down and actually reading the book I'm currently reading, which is Sylvia Townsend Warner's Lolly Willows. Loving this book, by the way. So yeah, I'm gonna head off for now, do a little bit of reading, a little bit of relaxing, wait for Jill to turn up, and maybe build some bookcases tonight. But you have to wait for the next video on my office adventures to find out if that happened. If you'd like just a general sort of decorating my office, organising my office video as well, I can totally do that. We have already painted and recarpeted the floor, but I will be like hanging pictures on the wall and deciding where all my stuff goes, so that could be something. But Always happy to hear from you what you'd like to see, and until next time, I'm going to go. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all again in the next one. Bye everyone.